What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for week 34 Premier League predictions. Liverpool can win the league, and there's a lot to be decided with regards to the top 5 Champions League race. Here's the winning accumulators we've had on the channel since the last Premier League prediction video. If you want to pause and take a look for yourself, you can do that. We've got Elfsborg up there, 1.85 odds, and all these 5 winners here, 1-0. Imagine we did what we did with this treble and chucked all of them in a 1-0 5-fold. That would have been phenomenal, but we've got all sorts here, so pause if you want to take a look at it for yourself and the correct scores we've tipped too. We had a pretty decent week last week with the Premier League, especially as far as Man City were concerned. We predicted that Man City would beat Everton 1-0. They ended up winning 2-0, and we predicted that Man City would beat Aston Villa 2-1, and they did. I also tipped over on the Patreon draw halftime Man City full-time at odds of 5.5, so that was very cool as well. First game up, we have Chelsea up against Everton at Stamford Bridge, and I'll be honest, I think Chelsea are going to win this one, but I was struggling to find a tip. Obviously, Everton have sort of nothing to play for. I know you get, I believe, an extra 3 million or so pounds for every place you finish up in the league table, but I just don't think that's enough for a team like Everton away at Stamford Bridge against a team like Chelsea, who are still chasing a Champions League spot. Let's be honest, they're going to win the Conference League, and I will say this, the odds for Chelsea to win the Conference League are about 1.4. The odds for them to win the away leg, the first leg of the semi-final, is higher than that. So if you want where I think there is decent value, just back Chelsea to win their first away leg against the team. I can't even pronounce the team's name. But regardless, I'm going to go for a Chelsea 2-1 win. Everton are decent. I thought about both teams to score, but I've gone a little bit speculative, and I'm going to say draw half-time at 2.25 odds. I think that's pretty decent. Granted, I could see Chelsea take the lead. They are a pretty decent first half team. When I think of the halftime, full-time markets, Chelsea are a team that tend to, if they're on their day, get the lead before halftime. But I think where Everton will be difficult to break down, and I think it could be quite close scoring, it lends itself to a potential draw at halftime, whether that's 0-0 or 1-1, for Chelsea to then go on and win the second half. Before we go any further, flashing up on the screen are all of the people that are supporting me over on the Patreon. As you saw, I showed the winning accumulators from there earlier on in this video. If you want a shout out in every single episode, whether that's Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, or Champions League, then you can join the Patreon using the link in the description. You also get access to exclusive members, tips, and accumulators, the group chat, and you can message me directly. And as this is going up on the 24th of April, if you're watching this in the first couple of hours and you join down below, you'll be able to see my post for the games tonight. I've got multiple correct scores. I think I've actually tipped correct scores in every single La Liga game tonight, as well as other accumulators using the games that are being played. So if that's something you're interested in, click the top link in the description. But with that being said, let's move on to the next game. It's Brighton up against West Ham. And I will say this, we have fewer Premier League games to predict in this video because of the FA Cup semi-final. But for your viewing pleasure, after we've done all the Premier League games, I will also be predicting the FA Cup predictions. I probably should have mentioned that earlier on in the video, but now the people that actually watch the whole video will get a treat of my FA Cup semi-final predictions. But going back to Brighton up against West Ham have had a really disappointing season. Brighton are in really disappointing form. I just think I'm going to shade it to the home side and say that Brighton get the 2-1 win. But my tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.7. West Ham handed Southampton the point that meant they didn't get a worse record than Derby's infamous record-breaking season. I don't see how they then go and win here. Graham Potter against his former club. I just don't see it. Brighton 2-1, both teams to score. After this, it is Newcastle up against Ipswich. Ipswich were absolutely dismantled, battered by Arsenal, and I think it gets one worse. I'm going to say that Newcastle win this one 5-0 at St. James's Park. They've got it all to play for, all to do. Ipswich aren't very good, and I really like the tip of Newcastle -2 handicap at 2.5. They could easily, like they did against Crystal Palace not too long ago, they could blow Ipswich out of the water. Arsenal did the same thing to them in the first half. I think Newcastle are going to be 2 goals up at least in the first half. So you could look at a Newcastle -1 first half handicap, because Newcastle come out the blocks flying. They don't have any other games to focus on, worry about. And for them to win the Carabao Cup and get Champions League football, that is a brilliant season for them. And I think Ipswich are going to be on the end of an absolute battering here. So Newcastle to win 5-0. After this, it's Southampton up against Fulham. Fulham have a little bit to play for, potentially a Conference League spot, depending on different permutations, FA Cup winners, league position, all that. There's still something to play for with regards to Fulham, and Southampton You could argue they're just playing for pride at this point, but are they even playing that? I don't know. So I'm going to say Fulham win 2-1, but Southampton have been finding the score sheet, so the tip is going to be Fulham and both teams to score at 3.25. Fulham look nailed on to get the 1-1 draw with Chelsea that we predicted, but they conceded a late loss, a losing goal. I think they bounce back here against a very woeful Southampton side, winning 2-1. Following that, we have the form team of the league. It's Wolves up against Leicester. Wolves getting their 5th league win in a row against Man United last game week. Leicester, they lost to Liverpool, but it was only 1-0. I don't know if they'd be happy with that. I guess you would. It was a late goal for Liverpool. Classic draw, half-time, Liverpool full-time type game. I think Wolves just win this at a bit of a canter. I'm going to say 2-0. And the tip is Wolves to win at 1.55. I struggled to find value because I wouldn't want to back the result in under 3.5 just in case Leicester have an absolute shocker of a day. So I'm going to go 2-0 to Wolves. After this, it is Bournemouth up against Man United. Bournemouth, as I've been saying all season, they're chasing that Europa League or Conference League spot, and I hope they get it. I'd love to see Bournemouth in the Conference League. We don't want a team like Chelsea or Villa or Man City. We don't want a team like that in the Conference League because they'll just walk it. We want a team like Bournemouth, like Brighton, to actually have a chance like West Ham did. And obviously, Bournemouth are my local team, or somewhat local. I was born in Poole. Bournemouth is close to that, and I've been to see them at the Vitality in League 2, League 1. I hope Bournemouth get Conference League, and a win here against Man United, who will have one eye on the Europa League because that defines their season. I think they can get the win. So I'm going to say that Bournemouth win 2-1. However, I'm going to tip something that I tipped over in the Champions League with Inter Milan with great success. Man United are massive outsiders in this game. You will never get odds for Bournemouth to beat Man United this low. I think the odds are about 1.6. But I don't think the gap between the two is that big. And I know it's because of the Europa League, it's everything else. But I think Man United can get close enough to a point that this tip works. Because if Bournemouth win by a goal, it could still come in. So the tip is going to be Man United +2 and both teams to score at 2.1. So that's both teams to score and Man United not to lose, or both teams to score and Man United to only lose by 1 goal. So for this not to come in, Man United would have to win to 0. That won't happen. Bournemouth would have to win to 0. That could happen, but I don't see it. Or Bournemouth would have to win by more than a goal. Could happen, but I don't see it. I think this encompasses most of the likely outcomes, but gets you good odds. So, and then if Man United do randomly turn up and win, even though no one's expecting it, but Bournemouth at least score, this tip comes in too. So it keeps a lot on side. Man United +2 and both teams to score at odds of 2.1. Now, after this, we travel to Anfield for Liverpool up against Tottenham. Liverpool looking to win the league. All they need is a point, but let's be honest, they're going to win. Tottenham also will have their eye on the Europa League. That is season defining for them also, because if Tottenham or Man United, and it's likely one of them will win the Europa League, if they can get into the Champions League next season after finishing like 15th in the league, I mean, that is just incredible. Either way, I think Liverpool win this one. I'm going to give Tottenham a goal, but I could see this being like 4-0. But I'll say Liverpool to win 3-1. And the tip is going to be Liverpool and both teams to score at 2.25. Because Liverpool have been conceding the odd goal, even at the best of times. So I think Tottenham can at least get on the score sheet somehow. So 3-1 to Liverpool. Liverpool and both teams score at 2.25. Liverpool win the league. Following that, quite a few days later, Thursday, the 1st of May, we have Nottingham Forest up against Brentford. I'm not going to spend too long on this. I think Nottingham Forest win. They've got more to play for. I'll say 2-1. And the tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.66. Hopefully, Nottingham Forest will be playing this off the back of booking their place in the FA Cup semi-final. In the FA Cup final, rather. Will that happen? Let's find out now. First game is Crystal Palace up against Aston Villa. I think this is going to be a close, cagey game. I could see it being 0-0, actually. But I can't look past Aston Villa going forward. But I also don't expect Crystal Palace to not find a reply. They've been very good in the FA Cup this season, and I do think they maybe will score. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Aston Villa, but the tip will be Aston Villa to win at 2.15. Similarly, like the likes of Newcastle, if Aston Villa can win the FA Cup and get Champions League football next season after the great run in the Champions League they had, and potentially knocking out PSG. They were very, very close. That would be a brilliant season for Villa. And I think a win here against Palace will do it. I could see it being a draw, But you got to say, if it goes to penalties, you'd back Villa to win with Emi Martinez in net as well. So I think Villa at least make the final, but I'm going to say it'll be in 90 minutes, 2-1, Aston Villa to win at 2.15. And the final game of the video, the final FA Cup semi-final fixture, it's Nottingham Forest up against Manchester City. I think this game is going to be a little bit of an eyesore. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be stop-start, physical. I just think Man City, with the experience, are going to find a way. It's interesting, both these teams fighting for a Champions League spot in the league, and both these teams fighting for a final spot in the FA Cup. I'm going to shade it to Man City 1-0. I hope it doesn't happen for the likes of Nottingham Forest. I'd like them to go through. But the tip is going to be Man City and under 3.5 goals at 2.37. I don't think we see 3 goals. I don't think we obviously see 4 goals, but I think it could be under 2.5 goals, to be honest. So that would leave a final of Man City up against Aston Villa, a repeat of the fixture that we just correctly predicted in the Premier League, which I think would be super, super exciting. But that does it for my Week 34 Premier League and FA Cup semi-final predictions. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like, subscribe. Thank you so much, all of you, for 33,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate it. With the added La Liga, Serie A and Bundesliga videos this season, I have begun to think about more things I can do in the next season. Maybe not just prediction videos. I could do just videos about football in general. If something happens or something's on my mind, there's a particular controversy that I want to talk about, I figured I could make a video for the full 90. So if you'd be interested in seeing more football related content, which I'm sure you will be, then let me know down in the comments. Leave a like whilst you're down there, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.